Hello, this is Shin Kwok. I'm the National Program Leader at NIFA's Institute of Food Production Sustainability in the Division of Plant Production. We're going to transition into the slides now in regards to the Centers of Excellence proposal review. So, in the first slide, I want to just sort of give you a background relating to the Centers of Excellence, or COE, as we'll call it in this presentation for short. This was originally introduced in the 2014 Farm Bill, and if you look at the link that's provided in the slide, there is a listing of programs in which the Centers of Excellence opportunities are available each year for those programs. They may change from year to year, but you should either check that link or talk to your program staff to determine whether that program has consideration for the Centers of Excellence. So when you look at a proposal that is submitting for consideration for the Centers of Excellence, or COE, they need to answer 4 specific questions that are outlined in the following 2 slides. This justification is usually at the very end of the project narrative of the proposal. That's what we have recommended to many applicants. Sometimes, in most cases, it's there. Sometimes they embed it in somewhere else, but in all fairness, they should be towards the end of the project narrative. So the first criteria they must address is whether the project that they are describing has the ability to ensure coordination and cost effectiveness by reducing duplicative efforts in research, education, and extension. The second is they must provide justification for the ability to leverage public-private partnerships, that whether that be through agricultural industry groups, institutions of higher education, or the federal government, so that resources can be leveraged relative to the size of the award. The third criteria that they need to address and provide justification for is the scope of the Center of Excellence must also consider implementing teaching initiatives to increase awareness and effectiveness in disseminating the solutions to which the project is focused towards. And lastly, in the fourth justification, they should provide how their project will provide and how they're being considered a Center of Excellence provides increased economic return to rural communities. So those are the 4 criteria in which each application that is being considered for Center of Excellence needs to provide justification for. So COE status is submitted by an applicant for the duration of the project. So it is not automatically applied for an institution as a whole, or for other projects that are submitted by the project director in the same year. Proposals will still be reviewed by merit first, irrespective of the COE status of that application. When the final ranking of a proposal is considered, COE status of the proposal will be determined for the most highly ranked proposal within the funding range. Now, this will be determined by the NPL and the panel manager, and then it will determine whether a COE was requested by that proposal. Panel members will review the COE status of the application, requesting COE review according to the 4 criteria that we had just talked about. So the way the Centers of Excellence is being used is that in the event of a tie in ranking of 2 applications, the COE status of an application will be used to break the tie. That's how this will be used in terms of the ranking of proposals. If both applications have COE status, the tie will remain the same. Applicants will get a boilerplate statement indicating their COE status, including that will be included in the panel summary of the application, and that their project was reviewed or not reviewed for the Centers of Excellence. So in the next couple of slides is sort of the PRS view of what panelists will see in terms of an application that needs to be reviewed for the Centers of Excellence. So after the panel has submitted and written and reviewed their panel summaries, what happens is the next page within the PRS system is what you see here in the slide in the first sort of boxed area where there's a red box that says review for COE. So after the panel summaries have been completed, you'll get to this page in which you will then click the review for COE link to suggest that this application will be reviewed for COE. So you'll get to then this link, and typically what would happen is most applications won't be requesting consideration for the Centers of Excellence. So many cases, the applicant submitted justification for COE will be a no, and the review for COE designation will also be a no. That's probably a majority of the proposals that you will see. Now, for those proposals that have submitted for COE review, it'll be flagged as a yes, and then you will determine whether it will be reviewed for COE designation. We'll get into a little bit of that detail in a couple slides later. But if an application is being considered for designation for COE, you then answer the next set of questions regarding the COE review outcome. One is, did it meet the standard? If it did, you click that button for met the standard for COE. If it did not meet, then click that button. If not ranked high enough for COE review, you click that button, depending on the situation of each of the application that is being submitted for COE consideration. So in an instance where someone submitted for COE review and it was reviewed, but it did not meet, you pick from the 4 criteria that we just described, which they did not meet. So in this instance, in this slide, they did not meet criteria A and B. What will happen is they will then get a boilerplate language that is shown in this slide where it says, yes, the applicant submitted for COE review. They were reviewed, but if they did not meet, and the reason why they did not meet is shown in the COE outcome justification. It shows that it did not meet A and B. Those are the same ones that you checked in the previous slide. Here are some recommendations of the numbers of proposals you should review for the Centers of Excellence. The recommendation is you review twice as many proposals that you plan to fund. Now, you should really go review this with your national program leader just to ensure that that is the criteria you guys are using. So what that would mean is, for example, if you plan to fund 10 awards, you only go down to the 20th proposal to evaluate Centers of Excellence if they requested it. Beyond the 20th proposal, even if they had requested themselves as a Center of Excellence, you could simply say, no, they were not reviewed for the Centers of Excellence. So now that's just a recommendation and a guideline. You need to talk to your national program leader to really determine if that's sort of the guiding principles you will use in determining Centers of Excellence for a submitted application. With that, I will end the presentation. We'll go back to the video.